morning, everyone.
Where's the donut?
You don't get any now. So, Mary is currently at Meyer picking up your guys' breakfast snacks, so she will be back with them shortly. So I am getting the meeting kicked off today. The sign-up sheet is getting passed around, that's why you didn't see it sitting over on the table. I know it seems odd, it asks to put a time on there. That's more for the people that are coming in late, so we know what time you got here. Because as always, there is a 15-minute cutoff that if you are not here within the first 15 minutes of the meeting, we don't count the meeting for you. You don't get the whole hour. All right, accidents. This past month, we had 2 accidents, one preventable and one non-preventable. Last month, we went over tail swing, mirrors, and danger zones around the buses for a safety meeting. Or sorry, was it 2 ago or was it last? It was last. The preventable accident was a tail swing incident where the bus got too close and we clipped something. I was not here for that one, so I don't know exactly what was clipped, but it was a tail swing, it was a preventable accident. If you guys think if it's questionable, call us out there. We will come out and help you guys out. The other one was a non-preventable where one of our buses was parked and somebody going by hit one of our mirrors. Out of our control. Christmas luncheon. An email has gone out for it and there's sign-up sheets on the table over there for bringing in food. It is Wednesday, December 21st at 12 o'clock. The Christmas presents, we have the tree up with the tags on them. Those presents are all due in by this Friday, December 16th. Because we need to get them to the family next week because we all know after next weekend is Christmas.
You want it wrapped with that
Yes.
sticker on them, whatever you call it?
Wrapped and with the tag with them, so we know who they go to. Important dates. Brandy will be sending out the important dates sheet. Winter break begins next Friday. Next Thursday is Geneva's last day. There are some schools that go next Friday, but we have finals next week. So Geneva goes Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. The finals are for the high school only. So high school drivers will have a midday. I sent out an email asking if you weren't able to make it for whatever reason for that midday. On Tuesday, they get out at 12:50, or the buses depart at 12:50. Wednesday at 11:10, and Thursday at 11:20. I have a schedule with clock-in times that I'm going to send out to you guys in an email. I have not sent it out yet because I'm waiting for responses on the special needs portion of it. Because I wanted to go out with all the information. With that, Fox Valley Career Center will not be running those days next week. Actually, I don't see Sue Ann in here, so I'll have to tell her. But Fox Valley Career Center won't be going because Caneland also has finals on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday next week. And early dismissal, so that will change for the drivers that go to John Stewart, that will change your clock-in times for that. Reminders, elementary students need to be in their correct seats. We had the schools this year, if you guys didn't do it, come up with a seating chart because they did not have time at the beginning of the year to do that. So you need to make sure they're in the correct seats. We've had them calling for videos on stuff and kids are not sitting where they're supposed to be. You need to make sure you're following the seating assignment. If you don't know it, ask for a copy of it and we'll give it to you.
All schools?
This is for elementary schools. St. Peter usually leaves it up to the driver to set the assigned seats. We will begin spot checking pre-trips. We've noticed that people are either getting it done in a very short amount of time, or we've had an instance where we've noticed it not being done at all. Now, I guys want you to understand that not doing a pre-trip at all is an instant termination. And you could lose your bus license. But just understand it's a serious thing. Sped drivers. Attendance sheets need to be done every 2 weeks, no exceptions. We've always done these. They are required for a state report at the end of the year. So we're not asking you to do them just because we're trying to give you paperwork. We have a report that we need to document what days they rode the bus. And we need you to date your the attendance sheets. Because when we print them off, sometimes they'll print off them the week ahead of time. And then when you turn them in, if you turn in a couple of weeks at a time, we don't know what week that was printed for. So please just write the dates on there.
And just mark the days they're here. We don't care about their birthday, Halloween, Easter, just when they're here, right?
So make sure you're only marking the days that they actually ride the bus. That goes for SPED students or McKinney-Vento students. So if you've got a shuttle in the middle of the day or something like that, that probably includes you. It should be included when you print your routes out.
So just put a check box?
Just put a check in the box if they're on the bus.
blank means that they didn't go.
Correct.
Okay.
And if you can, because some people are doing check when they're not going, so how do you want it?
I want it checked when they are riding. Check means they're on the bus. The shop. They want to remind everybody, next week, obviously is our last week before break, top off your fuel and your DEF before the end of the week. We don't want that sitting low. You let the diesel run low, it starts to gel up, makes it harder to start, stuff starts to rust inside. You don't want that to happen. Condensation builds up. Field trips. Please do not tell teachers that it's okay to come back late on a school day field trip. Now what I mean by that is there was a field trip where they were at their trip in between AM and PM routes. The team was running late or whatever they were for, and the driver said, that's fine, we can get back late because I don't have a route I need to get back to. Or whatever they said to him, in the gist of it. We have strictly told the schools they have to be back by 2 o'clock so that you guys can make elementary routes, because almost all of you have elementary routes now. So we've made that a very strict rule with the schools, and telling them that they can get back late hurts that, because now they think they can come back later and interfere with route times. Yes.
For trips to Chicago, you need to tell those people that the departure time is at 12:45, not 1.
Okay.
Because from 1 to 2, you can make it if nothing happens, but you need that extra 15 minutes.
We can do
So,
that.
like every field trip I get, I tell them, but the sheet says 1.
The sheet says 1. I can let them know that.
Yeah.
If you guys want to grab a snack or a donut or whatever real quick before we start the PowerPoint, we are going to go over pre-trip today. All right, guys. So like I said, we're gonna go over pre-trip. For those of you that were here the last couple of years, I have, the ROE made a pre-trip name game, which I've used. So if you remember this, we are going to go over this again, because I think it's a very good tool that goes over exactly what you need to check.
I hope not.
So the basic description of the game is there's going to be numbers and arrows next to the icon you're looking for, and options to pick from. So we're just gonna go through it together. When we did it the first time, I had sheets for everybody, but that takes too long, and we've got a video we're gonna go through as well with this.
Yay.
All right. What is number one pointing to?
Safety sticker.
Your safety sticker. How often does that need to be updated?
Every 6 months or 10,000 miles.
Or 10,000 miles. That is the big one everybody forgets. There is a mileage limit. Number two, it's actually pointing at your wiper arm. Number three, it's your wiring. Making sure they're not frayed, cracked, or broken. A lot of them are in that black house tubing you see there. You don't need to peel that back to look at it. You're just looking at what's exposed. Number four, not coolant. A lot of you guys won't have this one. Brake fluid. The big buses will not have this one. The little buses will. You're making sure that it's in the proper level and not leaking. And number five, that is your oil dipstick.
That ain't train? That looks like a train.
No, you're right, that is the trans. This is a gasoline engine they use, the oil's on the other side of this one. Alright, number one, that's checking your hoses, making sure they're not cracked, leaking, torn. Number two, is your belt and your fan. Checking your belt to make sure there's no more than a 1/4 inch of play in either direction. So taking it and actually trying to physically move it. If you do that while running, you are going to have a very sore hand. Number three, not white windshield fluid, power steering fluid. Making sure that it's in the correct levels. When you check it, there's two ways to check it. The cap comes off and has a dipstick on it, or there are lines on the outside of it to read from the outside, and there's a hot and cold level. So if the bus has been running and you check it, you would want to make sure it's between the min and the max for the hot. And number four, that is your steering shaft. Making sure it's secured properly and not dented or cracked. Alright. Number one, that is your gearbox. Making sure it's mounted securely and not cracked or broken. You're going to hear that phrase a lot. Two, your shock absorber, because I clicked the button too fast.
Make sure it doesn't leak.
You're making sure it's securely mounted and not leaking. They are hydraulic, so if you see fluid coming out of them, that means it is bad.
Thanks, Matt. Leaf spring.
I know, I'm getting ahead of myself. Leaf spring. Making sure it's not cracked, broken, any of the plates shifted, and then it's securely mounted. Number four, drag link. Making sure it's securely mounted with the castle nuts and cotter pins, not cracked or broken. And number five, It's your steering knuckle. They call it a ring knuckle on here. It's your knuckle. It's what holds your whole wheel assembly together. Just making sure that it's securely mounted, not cracked or broken. One of them they don't mention on here that you do have to check is this arm here attached to your drag link. That's your tie rod. All right. First thing you're gonna notice about this, these are disc brakes and hydraulic, not air brakes. So they are different than what we have, except for the little buses. They have hydraulics and disc. Number one is your dust cover. That keeps debris from getting into the backside of your brakes and causing extra wear and tear on the brake pads and rotors. Number two, your calipers. That's what holds your brake pads together. Big buses have a drum system, so you're gonna be checking the drums instead of the calipers. Number three, that's your brake line. Even though you guys have air brakes on the big buses, you're still gonna be checking the lines, making sure that they're not cracked or damaged. And number four, the inside of your tire. Making sure there's no cracks, cuts, cords, bulges, anything of that sort. And I know cords sounds weird, but we have had tires that they've rubbed up against the curb so much you can see the cords showing through. Alright, front of the tire, number one, tread. How low can your tread get on the front tire? 430 seconds. That does not matter if it's a big bus or a little bus, it's 430 seconds. Number two, your sidewall, same as the inside of the tire. Number three, that is your hubcap, making sure it's securely mounted, not leaking. Number four, lug nuts, making sure they're not loose. There's no rust trails or shiny threads that would indicate that they are loose. Number five, your rim, no cracks, dents, or welds other than factory. If it's a factory weld, you're not gonna see it because it's gonna be on the inside of the rim. Number six, it's your valve stem. Checking to make sure that the valve stem is secure and is straight. You should also, we don't have them for you guys, but checking the air pressure. The old technique was to give it a good kick or a whack with an object, make sure it's got pressure. They hold a lot of pressure, so if you kick it and it tire gives a little bit, it's probably low. They gotta be at 100 PSI is what they're supposed to be set at. Alright. Yes, this one's got a lot of arrows. Number one is pointing at your wiring again. Number two, your hoses. Nope, more hoses. They do some duplicates through this. Number three, that is your oil dipstick. For the big buses, you guys have them on the same side as the transmission dipstick, so you guys would only have one side you need to check. This is a gasoline engine that they're using as an example. Number four, alternator. Checking to make sure that it's securely mounted and that the wires are attached to it. Number five, that's your belt and fan again. And number six, coolant reservoir. For our big buses, it's on the opposite side of the bus, but it's the same concept. Check to make sure it's not cracked, broken, or leaking. All right, passenger side door. Number one,
Glass and seal.
glass and seals. Making sure they're not cracked, broken, anything like that. if you have a door with clacked glass, cracked glass, you cannot go out on the road. Actually, that applies to any window, doesn't matter what window, door, passenger window, you can't go out if it's got a crack, chip, anything like that in it. Two is your handrail. Making sure it's securely mounted and in place. And number 3, steps. This one becomes very important this time of the year. Why? It gets very slippery. Especially with the buses parked outside, you wanna make sure you're locking your door at night, because if you get snow in there, you're gonna have an ice pile underneath of it. It's gonna get real slick real fast for the kids. Alright. Driver's compartment is not quite set up 100% the same as ours. But number 1, the radio. You guys have to make sure this works. Number 2 is just your switches in general, but good guess. Making sure that all of your switches work.
That's a driving stuff.
Number 3, steering wheel. How much play can you have in a steering wheel? 10%. It is a 20-inch steering wheel. You can have 2 inches or 10%. Number 4, gear shifter. In a big bus, what are you checking for on a gear selector? That it doesn't start in anything but neutral. It should not start in any other gear. And I say big buses because in a little bus, it'll start in whatever gear you've got it in. Yes. So if you get in a bus, like I have before, and it's not starting, check your gear selector, because I know sometimes it's a habit. You roll in and you shut the bus off, and you left it in drive. I've gotten into them before to move them, and they're still sitting in drive. It happens. And number 5 is a little hard to see. Brake and gas pedal. Making sure that the rubber is not worn off, that it's still in place, not frayed. Instrument cluster. Number 1 is your trans temperature. Making sure that it is between 150 and 200. A good rule of thumb with your trans and your water is they need to be in the 11 o'clock position or roughly in that area. Number 2 is your water. You want that to be between 170 and 200. The fan does not kick on until 220. So if you see it go over 200, that does not mean that something's wrong yet. The light will come on when something's wrong. Number 3 is your RPMs. We all know those ones, or should, from our own cars. You're not gonna see, for those ones you'll see come up, but you really test if they're working right once you get moving. Number 4 is your miles per hour. We all know that that's not gonna move until you start driving. 5 is your volts. Where do you want your volts to be?
14.
14 is your magic number, but you want it between 13 and 15. 6 is your oil pressure. Where do you want your oil pressure?
40.
Roughly about 40. When you're sitting there idling and the bus has been warmed up, it's probably gonna sit between 20 and 40. When you're driving down the road, it'll probably be between 40 and 60. It might go a little higher, especially if you just started the bus and it's cold and still warming up. And 7 is your fuel. Where's your fuel supposed to be? Half when? In the winter. More than a quarter in the summer. That's what the state says. I know we told everybody else it's half all the time. But the one missing from here,
DEF.
DEF. DEF needs to be above a half. Those sensors are very finicky and they're still having problems getting them working right. Not the mechanics, I'm talking the manufacturers are having trouble with them. So they need to keep them above half, because if it, for some reason, decides to read that you're out, which seems to be common when it gets below a half, it will derate. What that means is that bus will not go more than about 5 miles an hour. You do not want that when you're driving down Randall or Fabian or Caneville or any of those high speed roads. What other one's missing? Air pressure. You guys gotta make sure you know how to do that. If you get pulled for a test at the state, that is the first one they're going to do when they take you out to do the pre-trip portion. If you can't pass that part, they stop you right there. And in the video that I have, they do go over air pressure. All right, front of the bus. First one is clearance lights. Making sure that they're the proper color, because it is the front of the bus. They should be in amber color, not cracked, broken, or missing. Number two. Number two is your 8-ways. Making sure they're the correct color, not cracked, broken, or missing. 3, windshield. Same as your driver's door. Any cracks, chips, anything like that. Doesn't matter if it's tiny and in the bottom corner, you still can't drive it. Number 4, hazard lights. Making sure they're not cracked, broken, or missing. Number 5, headlights. Making sure that they work both on brights and on standard, and that they're not cracked, broken, or damaged. 6, it's your crossover mirrors, but for all mirrors, you're checking to make sure that they're securely mounted, not cracked, broken, or damaged. Number 7, it's your crossover arm, or your crossing arm. You need to make sure that works. That keeps the kids 10 feet in front of the bus as best as we can. Because we all know those little kindergartners and some first graders, you can't see over that hood. All right, driver's side. Number 1. That is your driver's window. Making sure it's not cracked, broken, or damaged. Number 2. That's your fuse box. So we don't have fuses in our big buses. We have breakers. So you will not find spare fuses in there. If something, when you check in there and you looking at them, it's very similar to the breaker box at your house, except there's a little colored icon in the middle of them. It will pop outward if it's popped. You just, same as your home breaker, you just push it right back in, unless it comes right back out. If it comes right back out again, you've probably got a bigger problem. Number 3, stop arm. We have 2 of these on our buses, and they both have to work. Number 4, battery box. What are we looking for in the battery box? Hopefully there's a battery in there.
They're secure.
That they're secure,
The drawer is locked.
They're not leaking.
No corrosion.
that they're not leaking, no excessive corrosion. The corrosion will be how you know they're leaking. There should be black goop on them. They come from the manufacturer like that. It's a battery protectant. All right. Number 1, clearance lights. I know it's hard to tell, but you need to make sure they're the right color, because on the backpack here, it's red, not amber. Anything behind the dual is red. 2, that is your windows. Again, making sure they're not cracked or broken. 3, that's your lettering. It needs to be clear and legible and not peeling. Number 4, your reflective tape, same as your lettering, needs to be clear and visible and not peeling. Number 5, it's your rear tire. What's different about the rear tire?
They could be retreated.
They could be retreads, no less than 2 30-seconds. It's duals, so you got 2 of them back there.
They have to be the same.
Yep, they have to be the same. All right, back of the bus. Number 1 is your clearance lights, yes. And again, like I said, they're red on the back. Number 2, school bus sign. It needs to be clear and legible and not peeling. Number 3, that is your 8 ways. Number 4, it's your rear windows. You guys all have a comment on my driving sticker on the back of them. It needs to be clear and legible. That is required. We do not have stickers on there that say this vehicle does not turn on red. This one does. Number 5,
The emergency door.
it's your emergency door. You gotta make sure it opens and closes freely from both the inside and outside. The reason being is that the way the door handle mechanism is designed on these buses is you can actually, there's a way that it can break where you can't open it from the inside, but you can from the outside. So you have to check both. But when you open that, you're also checking the seal on the door to make sure that it is in place and not cracked and broken. That is to try and prevent exhaust gases from getting inside the back door. Number 6, it's your lights. It's your hazard turn signals, your brake light, and your reverse light, and the tail lights on the bottom. Number 7, it's your exhaust pipe. Your exhaust pipe should be sticking out at least 1 inch from the bumper. Again, reason being, they don't want the exhaust to be leaking out underneath of the bus. They're trying to get it away from the students. Number 8, bumper. Put a foot on it, shove it, whatever, you're just making sure it's secure along with your tow hooks.
Why don't school buses have those bars on the bottom like a semi? So cars don't go underneath them.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's-
they're lower than a semi.
They are. We're lower than a semi. A trailer that sits up higher than what
Yeah,
we're
they
at.
sit up higher.
That bar that you're talking about though is behind that, but behind that is a giant steel
Oh,
bar.
Safety cage for the fuel tank.
Yep, you're gonna look underneath for the safety cage for the fuel tank. If you guys look under there, you'll see a very thick steel cage. Your fuel tank is inside of that.
Did we ever find out why some of the buses have chains that hang down?
Some companies, mostly bus companies, not districts, not common in a district, it is for the winter.
to pull?
But it's mostly for out of state
Some
because
states have it for a law that they
Yeah.
have to have. it.
Illinois, it's not a law that you have to have chains during the winter time. So that's why it's bus companies that do it. I know I've heard that there's a couple around here that have them and they probably got their buses from out of state or from one of their facilities. All right, number 1, is your clearance lights again. This is kind of a repeat except for a couple of things to the other side. 2 is your windows. 3,
Yes.
it's your fuel door. So if you're in a big bus, it's your diesel, little bus, it's gas. You're making sure that it opens and closes freely and that the cap is secured. If you're at the middle school, I know last year they were trying to get them all fixed. You're supposed to be locking them, but because people hadn't been using them, they were all seized up. And they were trying to fix them as people reported them not working.
So you want them locked now?
They're supposed to be, they've always supposed to have been locked over at the middle schools. And because people weren't, they started locking up, like that you could not get the key in them, they were rusting in place. Number 4 is your rear dual again. Number 5, it's a little confusing, it's pointing underneath the bus. You're supposed to be checking to make sure that the exhaust isn't hanging or dented or has holes in it. With your big buses, you can see black marks along the exhaust, that's a soot pattern. You're making sure your drive shaft isn't hanging or has dents in it. Number 6, it's your reflective stickers, making sure that they're proper color and in place. And I know the drive shaft with dents seems odd, but in the summer, 2 years ago, we brought one back from the middle school and it shook like crazy, crawled underneath of it, and I don't know how, but somebody dented the drive shaft. And you think about how high that sits up on a bus.
Oh, boy.
All right, interior, number 1. It's actually just pointing at stickers and lettering. You're just making sure, it's currently pointing at a manufacturer sticker that's required to be there. You guys are making sure those are all in place, that your no standees, capacity, surveillance stickers, that they're all clear and visible. Number 2, student mirror, not backup mirror. A student mirror, making sure that it is not cracked or broken and securely mounted. Number 3, first aid kit, making sure it is stocked. Number 4, fire extinguisher, making sure it's secured in place, the tag is up to date, and that the needle is in the green. And number 5, that's your trash can. How full should your trash can be? No more than half. Alright, number 1,
No, that's the emergency.
your emergency hatch. Checking to make sure that it opens and closes freely, and that when you turn the red handle, the alarm should go off. Number 2, emergency windows. Same thing, when you lift the red handle, the alarm should go off. The stickers on there that just tell you what to do. I know it seems pretty obvious to open them, but those stickers are required to be there. So if a kid has peeled them off, we need to know about that. Number 4, that's your seats. What are you checking on your seats? That they're secure. You're also checking to make sure that the foam is not too deteriorated. You shouldn't be able to feel the seat. There's a steel bar underneath that cushion. You should not be able to feel that. If you can, then your seat cushion is too worn down. Number 5, that's your flooring. Making sure that it's not peeling, bubbling, that it's clear of debris, and that the rails along it are secure. The rust or the salt during the winter time will eat those bars. All right, any questions on that? All right, pre-trip sheet. These are not the actual pre-trip sheets. I filled these out and picked bus numbers at random. So these are not targeted at anyone specifically. All right, you'll notice this one is a little bus. There are certain things on there that you do not mark. You would mark as NA. And a lot of people just go through the motions and mark everything. On a little bus, you do not have a vacuum or air pressure gauge. That should not be marked as acceptable. It should be marked as an NA. You also don't have a neutral safety switch. On a big bus, not that it's relevant to you guys, but if you went to another facility, if you have air brakes, you would mark the master cylinder under the fluids as NA. You guys don't have a master cylinder. The little buses do. Any questions on your pre-trip sheet? All right. And we have video for you guys. Some of you have seen this before. It's one we use for training. It is from Ohio, so there are a couple of things that are different, but this is the closest video we can get to what we have for buses and what we do. It would help if I turned my sound on.
Pass the comfort portion of your CDL exam. Let's start at the front of us. Can you take a look at our clearance lines? We'll do this for each mirror and bracket on both sides. We're going to do latches. Lift our foot. We want to start at the top and work our way to the bottom. We're going to start with our alternator. Our alternator is belt driven. It's not cracked, broken, or damaged. There are no loose or missing parts. This is the serpentine belt. It's not twisted or frayed. It's not cracked, broken, or damaged. No loose or missing parts. If I were to push on the belt, it would not deflect more than a ½ inch. We're going to take a look at our water pump. Our water pump is also belt driven. It's not cracked, damaged, or broken, no loose or missing parts, and it's not leaking. We're going to take a look at our front and rear spring mounts. Front and rear spring mounts. They're not cracked, broken, or damaged. There are no loose or missing parts. We're also going to take a look at our torque leaf and spring leaf. Torque leaf and spring leaf are not shifted, cracked, or broken, no loose or missing parts. We're going to take a look at our U-bolts. The U-bolts are in place. They're not cracked, broken, or damaged, no loose or missing parts. We're going to take a look at our shock absorber. Our shock absorber is bolted top and bottom, not cracked, broken, or damaged, no loose or missing parts, and it's not leaking. We are going to also, we have our bolt bushings, which are in place, bolted securely, not cracked, broken, or damaged, no loose or missing parts. We're going to take a look at our ABS line and our brake line. The ABS and brake lines are tied down securely. They're not cracked, broken, or damaged, no loose or missing parts, and neither one is leaking. They are attached securely to the brake chamber. The brake chamber is clamped securely, not cracked, broken, or damaged, no loose or missing parts. We're going to take a look at our push rod and slack adjuster. They're not cracked, broken, or damaged, no loose or missing parts. If I were to chock the wheel and release the brake, this would not move more than 1 inch. We're going to take a look behind our brake dust cover. This is our dust cover. If we were to remove the dust cover, we could see that the brake linings were not worn dangerously thin, and the brake drums have no grease, oil, holes, dents, or debris. We're going to move up here. We're going to take a look at our front tires, steering tires. They are evenly worn. There's no less than 4 30-second tread all the way across. The face of our tire has no abrasions, bulges, or cuts. The rim of our tire has no welds other than factory. It's not cracked, broken, or damaged, no loose or missing parts. Take a look at the valve stem. It's straight, it's centered, it has a metal cap, and if I were to check the pressure, we would use a tire pressure gauge. All of our lug nuts are tight and in place. If one was loose, we could see a rust trail. Our hub oil seal is bolted securely, all bolted in place and tight. If it was loose, we would see a spray pattern, and the level of oil is properly set. We are going to look at our mud flap. It's securely fastened, not cracked, broken, or damaged, no loose or missing parts. We're going to walk over to the other side of the bus and check that side. Once again, we're going to start at high and work our way down. We're going to look at our lines, wires, and hoses. We want to make sure that they are firmly attached, not cracked, broken, or damaged, no loose or missing parts. We're going to take a look at our air compressor. Our air compressor is gear driven. It's not cracked, broken, or damaged, no loose or missing parts. It is gear driven. We're going to take a look at our oil dipstick. Our oil dipstick, to check on it, we would remove the stick, wipe it off, reinsert it, bring it back out again. It will read between add and full. We're also going to take a look at our coolant reservoir. The cap is in place, the hoses are all connected and tight, nothing is kinked or leaking, and the level is between add and full. This will need more fluid added very soon. We're going to now take a look at our power steering fluid reservoir. The reservoir, you would check the level the same way as the oil. You would remove the dipstick, wipe it off, reinsert it, pull it out again. It will read between add and full. If you follow the hoses down, it will lead to the power steering pump. You can't see it directly. The power steering pump is gear driven. It's not cracked, broken, or damaged. There are no loose or missing parts, and nothing is leaking. We're going to take a look at our steering shaft, our gearbox. Our gearbox is bolted securely, not cracked, broken, or damaged, no loose or missing parts. It is not leaking. All the connections are made, and they are not kinked or leaking. We have our pitman arm, our drag link, and our tie rod. Our tie rod and steering linkage is bolted securely, not cracked, broken, or damaged, no loose or missing parts. I would check the brakes, suspension, and wheels the same on this side as I did on the other side. Stop at our door, passenger door side. The door is in place, the glass is in place, the seals are good, nothing's cracked, broken, or damaged, no loose or missing parts. Our handrails are bolted securely, not cracked, broken, or damaged, no loose or missing parts. The step tread is not lifted to pose a tripping hazard, and our step lights are in place, the proper color, not cracked, broken, or damaged, no loose or missing parts. Our DEF tank and cap and cage are in place, not cracked, broken, or damaged, no loose or missing parts. They're not leaking. And you'll see inside that the level is proper. Our sticker is in place and up to date. Our clearance lights on top, turn signals and hazard lights, our reflective tape and reflectors are the proper color. They're not cracked, broken, or damaged, no loose or missing parts. All the windows are not cracked, broken, or damaged as well. As we look under the bus, we're going to take a look at our frame and cross members. Frame and cross members. They're not cracked, broken, or damaged, no loose or missing parts. We also want to take a look at our exhaust system. The exhaust system is straight, it's centered, it's not hanging on the hangers, and if it were to have a soot pattern would indicate a hole. And if we were to turn on the bus, we would listen for excessive noise. We're going to take a look at our drive shaft. Drive shaft is straight, it's between the hangers but not hanging on the hangers. The hangers themselves are bolted securely, not cracked, broken, or damaged, no loose or missing parts. The universal knuckle is not overly worn, not cracked, broken, or damaged, no loose or missing parts. As we come back to the rear axle, we're going to take a look at our front and rear spring mounts. They're bolted securely, not cracked, broken, or damaged, no loose or missing parts. We're going to take a look at our torque leaf and our spring leaf. They're not shifted, cracked, or broken, no loose or missing parts. The bolt bushings are also in place, not cracked, broken, or damaged, no loose or missing parts. We want to take a look at our U-bolts. Our U-bolts are bolted securely, not cracked, broken, or damaged, no loose or missing parts. Our push rod and slack adjuster, they're very difficult to see back here, are not cracked, broken, or damaged, no loose or missing parts. If I were to chock the wheels and release the brake, they would not move more than 1 inch. we're going to take a look at our brake ABS line and our brake line. They are clamped securely, not cracked, broken, or damaged, no loose or missing parts, and they're not leaking. They're attached securely to the brake chamber, which is clamped securely, not cracked, broken, or damaged, no loose or missing parts, and neither one is leaking. We're going to look across to our brake linings, if we were to remove the dust cover, and brake drums. If we were to remove the dust cover, we would see that the brake linings are not worn dangerously thin, and the brake drums have no grease, oil, hole, dents, or debris.
She says
We're going to
dangerously
take a
thin, it
look
shouldn't be
at
more
our
than a
bud wheel.
quarter inch, shouldn't be any less
Our
than a
bud
quarter
wheel is right
inch.
here. Our bud wheel is evenly
And we do
spaced,
not have
but
dust
has
covers
no
on the drums, so
spacer,
you guys
and
should
there's
be able to see
nothing
those.
between my duals. We're gonna look at the tread depth on the rear tires. We wanna make sure that the tread depth is evenly worn all the way across and is no less than 2 30-seconds tread all the way across. We wanna take a look at the front of our tire. The front of our tire has no abrasions, bulges, or cuts. The rim has no welds other than factory. All of our lug nuts are in place and tight. If one was loose, we would see a rust trail. We have our axle seal in place and tight. All of the bolts are in place and tight. If this was loose or leaking, we would see a spray pattern. Our valve stems, the inner one and outer one, are straight. They're centered. They have metal caps. And if we were to check the tire pressure, we would use a tire pressure gauge. Our mud flaps are bolted securely, not cracked, broken, or damaged, no loose or missing parts. As we continue back, we're going to take a look at our shock absorber. Our shock absorber is bolted top and bottom, has not cracked, broken, or damaged, no loose or missing parts. It is not leaking. We also want to take a look at our air bags and the air mounts. The air mounts are bolted top and bottom, not cracked, broken, or damaged, no loose or missing parts, and they are not leaking. We're going to take a look at our fuel tank, our fuel cage. They are bolted securely, not cracked, broken, or damaged, no loose or missing parts, and they are not leaking. We're also going to take a look at our fuel door, our fuel cap, fuel neck, and the inner cage as well. We want to make sure nothing's cracked, broken, or damaged, no loose or missing parts, and it is not leaking. Okay, we're going to come around to the back. We're going to take a look at our clearance lights, our warning lights, our loaded lights, our turn signal and hazard lights, our brake lights, our tail lights, our backup lights, our reflective tape, and reflectors. We want to make sure they are the proper color, not cracked, broken, or damaged. There are no loose or missing parts. We're going to open up the rear emergency door. We want to make sure that it locks into place. And when we release it and close the door, the lights and buzzer sound. When we close it up, it all goes off. We would check this side of the bus as we checked the other side. In addition, we would check the stop arm. Stop arm is bolted securely, not cracked, broken, or damaged, no loose or missing parts. The reflector lenses are in place in the proper color, not cracked, broken, or damaged. We'll see in a moment that it's working. This is a circuit breaker bus. There are no additional fuses. We have a battery box that contains 3 batteries. There's no corrosion. All the connections are made, and the tray is free of debris. We're going to go get on the bus and check some of our emergency equipment. Okay, we're going to start with our emergency equipment up top here. We have our body fluid cleanup kit. It is fully stocked. Our first aid kit has 24 dry box bandages, proof of insurance, and 3 emergency contacts. Our fire extinguisher is rated, dated, and charged. It's 5-pound dry chemical. We have our 3 triangles, reflective triangles, and our 6 fusees right back here. There's 6 fusees in those boxes. We're going to take a look at our windshield. Windshield is in place, not cracked, broken or damaged, no loose or missing parts. There's no decals, stickers, or cracks. All of our mirrors are adjusted for me. The student mirror, I can see all the way to the back and the top of the first. I'm going to do a safe start. Safe start means that the parking brake is set and the gear shift is in neutral. Turn to accessory. The ABS light comes on and promptly goes out. We're going to turn our lights on to illuminate all of our gauges. Our front and rear air tanks will build to between 120 and 125. At 125, the governor cutoff will make that noise that you just heard. Our voltmeter will sit between 12 and 14. Our fuel is ample for the trip that we need to take. We have our speedometer, our tachometer, our odometer. Our water temperature gauge will rise to approximately 190. Our oil will sit between 40 and 60, and our transmission will rise to the level it's supposed to. Our DEF has got adequate level in it at half. And we're going to check our inside indicators. Our inside left turn signal, our inside right turn signal, our high beam indicator, our hazard light indicators, our horn. We're going to test our reverse beacon, and we're going to check that our gear shift goes through each gear smoothly. We're going to test our fans, heaters, and defrosters, high, low, and off. We're going to test our stairwell heater and our driver's heater and our defroster, high, low, and off. We're going to listen for our midship heater and our rear heaters, high, low, and off. We are going to put our strobe light on, the indicator is on, the driver dome and passenger domes lights are all functioning properly. Lights off. We're going to look at our yellow warning lamps. We want to make sure that the inside indicators are functioning properly. There's 2 of them, and this one. And then we also want to check our loading light indicators. And here. When that lights are on, we want to also check our stop sign, that it is extended and the lights are functioning, and our stop gate, which is extended. When we close, turn off the lights, they all come. Now we're going to doors functioning properly. The door opens, the step light comes on, and when we close it, it goes off and the door closes properly. At this time, I'm going to put my seatbelt on and we're going to do a series of brake tests. The first one we're going to do is we're going to test the parking brake. We're going to put the bus in gear and tug against the accelerator. We want to make sure that the parking brake is holding. It is. Now we're going to put the bus back, keep it into drive, and release the parking brake, and we're going to test the service brake. We're going to move forward approximately 5 miles an hour and press on the service brake, ensuring that we do not pull to the right or to the left and that we stop smoothly. Then we're going to put the bus back into neutral. We're going to keep the parking brake off and turn the bus off. We're going to put the bus back into accessory mode so all of our gauges function, but we're going to keep our foot off of the service brake. We want to make sure that our air tanks are holding and do not drop more than 2 psi in 1 minute. At this time, you'll ask the examiner if they would like to test the static brake test. It's no longer required in Ohio, but your state may require it, so ask your local examination station if they require the static brake test. Once they're done
is
testing
required.
it for you, you can move on to the next test. That is going to be heavy pressure. After the initial drop, after the initial gauge drop, it will not lose more than 3 psi in 1 minute, and you will again ask the examiner if they would like to test that. When they tell you to move on, you can move on to the next brake test. And that's going to be fanning the brakes. Before 60, a light and buzzer will sound, and when you continue fanning the brakes, see as it did, the parking brake will set itself. And that usually happens between 20 and 40. Okay, and it worked. They've all worked properly. We're going to start the bus back up again. We're going to build some pressure in our air tanks to get the emergency buzzer to stop going. And in the meantime, we're going to check the inside of the cabin. We're going to make sure that our seat is securely bolted to the floor, not cracked, broken, or damaged, and loose or missing parts. We already said that our seat belt is not cracked, broken, or damaged, is not frayed, ripped, or torn, and works properly. We're going to make sure that our seat cushions are attached securely to the seat frames. And we're going to do that by lifting up on each of them as we go back. And they're not cracked, broken, or damaged, no loose or missing parts. On the way back, we're going to test our emergency exit. The lights come on, the buzzer sounds, opens freely, and when we close it up, all the lights go off and the sound goes off. We'll continue checking our seats going back. We would check the other 3 window exits the same as we checked the first one. We're going to turn around and we're going to check our emergency exit, making sure it works freely from the inside as it does from the outside. The lights come on, the buzzer sounds, and when we close it out, everything goes off. We're going to check our seat backs to make sure they are bolted securely to the frames as well as we go back up the aisle. Now in our roof hatch, and we're going to see that when we open up, the lights come on, the buzzer sounds, and as you can see, the strobe light is on, functioning properly. It's a proper color, not cracked, broken, or damaged, no loose or missing parts. And when we close it out, everything goes off. We would check the other roof hatch the same as we checked this one. We're going to continue checking the backs of our seats, making sure they're secure. At this point, you would have your examiner go and check out all of your external lights. sure you show them the front, everything in the front. So what you're going to ask them to do is check your clearance lights all the way around. You want them to check your
Alright, any questions on pre-trip? Did everybody get to sign the sign-up, the sign-in sheet?
No.
Alright, Bill has it in the back. Alright, and once you get signed in, gentlemen,
Real
Oh.
quick, there are two sign-in sheets for the party. One is for what you're bringing, and one is for, you know, that you're going to be here and participate, excuse me. So if you would, please, if you're going to be here, get signed up, because we do need to put the order in for the chicken and the beef. All right?
yeah,
Any news over that got this lot, the next door that was here? Hey,
What?
he's asking if we have any news on the lot next door.
Oh, yeah, they've been out surveying, they started knocking down some of the trees and brush over there, so we're hoping springtime.
also, are we looking at new buses next year?
We are looking at going to a 5-year rotation, which would mean we would turn over a fifth of them every year. Just because it is nearly impossible right now to order buses. So, we have to pivot again.
Are we gonna go diesel or are we gonna go gasoline?
We're gonna go diesel. We've looked at, Matt and I have put a lot of time into looking at other alternatives that, again, you can't get them, or it's not the goal we ultimately want to be at, so we're gonna stick with the diesel for now.
With air brakes too?
Yeah. Yeah. Just to give you guys an idea, before COVID, we paid about 80 for a 72 passenger bus. They cost 120 right now. So, and, you know, they're struggling to manufacture them.
And the new ones
So, we're kind of figuring it out as we go.
You have a question, Jim?
Any chance to get access to door 19E at the high school, so we have access to the bathroom?
I can ask
That's
security.
the diagonal would be nice to be able to.
I can ask security and see if they'll do it or not. That's out of our control other than asking. So yeah, I can ask if we can do that.
And then also a huge thank you to Pamela. So that front entrance, every time it looks absolutely amazing, like it does right now. Thank you. She not only spends her own time doing that, she's also spent her own money, so thank you very much. It looks gorgeous. So the guys can go.